This has Warriors fans split right down the middle. Half of Dub Nation saying this would be a completely wasted opportunity to end the Johnathan Kuminga drama saga, and the other half saying we deserve way more in return. What's going on, everybody? I'm Houston Bo. You're watching Warriors Digest. We're going to waste no time today, as we have been in recent videos, because there's been so much happening in this Johnathan Kuminga situation. We got even more news over the last couple of days about potential suitors for Johnathan Kuminga, as well as why the Warriors declined these offers and what is going to be happening with those situations if they do not occur or if they do happen moving forward. So first things first, I want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. Easiest way to help us out, ensures you guys never miss out on a video. About 67% of you guys aren't subscribed, so go down, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to turn on notifications, and yeah, we got so much content coming your way, and I just don't want you guys to miss out on anything. So what are we looking at today? Well, if you haven't watched the previous Johnathan Kuminga videos, go do that to be up to date on everything. Warriors offered him a couple of different contracts at this point. He's declined everything because he wants a player option instead of a team option. Coming out yesterday from Anthony Slater, that Kuminga said if you turn the 3-year deal into a player option in the third year instead of a team option in the third year, then he will accept and buy into this team. But if not, these other opportunities are probably going to come to fruition quicker than we think. So, of course, this came out over the last couple of days. The Sacramento Kings view Johnathan Kuminga as an all-star and want to give him a high usage rate. Kuminga does not have a good relationship with Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Sources said the Kings told Kuminga they view him as an all-star forward who will receive high usage rate under head coach Doug Christie. Now, this is music to Kuminga's ears because it's an opportunity for him to go be a star player on a different organization somewhere else, get the minutes that he's hoping for, get the bag that he wants at this point in his career. Now, as a Warriors fan, it would be heartbreaking to see Johnathan Kuminga in a Kings jersey after all the drama that's happened with that team over the last couple of years. Obviously, Johnny gets to stay in California, not too far away from the Bay Area. So it wouldn't be too much of a transition from him in that side of things, stay in the same division. But it just puts a little sore taste in your mouth knowing that this is a legitimate opportunity that we could see Johnathan Kuminga playing side Sabonis and some of these guys that have been absolute villains of the Warriors organization over the last couple of years. And we saw things like this from Tim McMahon, that Steve Kerr doesn't want Kuminga. Kuminga doesn't want to play for the Warriors. This is going to be a disaster if they bring back Kuminga. So that's why all these other trade rumors have started to build up. But we do know that there are some offers that are legitimately on the table. One of those being from the Sacramento Kings. The Golden State Warriors rejected a trade offer from the Kings that included Malik Monk and a first-round pick in exchange for Johnathan Kuminga per Shams. Now, this is the biggest trade that has been on the table since this situation has become aware to everybody and apparent that Johnathan Kuminga does not want to be a Golden State Warrior unless it's completely on his terms, which again is a lot of leverage for a 22-year-old who hasn't done a whole lot in his career. That's why a lot of Warriors fans are really upset because they feel like all these other domino pieces that need to fall can't happen until Johnathan Kuminga sort of gets off his high horse and decides what he wants to do. So the deal, Malik Monk and a first-round pick in exchange for Johnathan Kuminga. We don't know if it was a protected or unprotected first-round pick. I can't imagine that they would have traded a protected. That seems outlandish to me if that was the deal, but I see this from both sides. I'm not a Malik Monk fan personally myself. I think that some of the things he does efficiency-wise aren't exactly what we need on this team. I think he does have the opportunity to come in and be a sixth-man scorer, and I can see it playing devil's advocate from that perspective, that he could be a guy off the bench like he's been for the Kings over the several last years. He comes off the bench, he provides spark minutes, plays really, really well. But from a consistency standpoint, I've watched us play against Malik Monk, and I've seen the days where he has played fantastic, and he's burned us time and time again, hitting that one-game winner, I believe 2 seasons ago, throwing it up off the backboard, somehow going in. And then I've seen other times where I've been thrilled that Malik Monk is on the floor because I know that we will expose him defensively, and it allows us to do so many things when he's on the floor from an offensive standpoint. So I see this essentially as a trade for a little further developed Johnathan Kuminga. I don't see that there's much change giving Johnathan Kuminga away from Malik Monk. I feel like it's just another sporadic guy who doesn't provide a whole lot of defense or rebounding for the team. And I think that I would be a little frustrated if this was the deal that we ultimately ended up doing. But I can also see from the perspective of, hey, we get a solid role player, we get a first-round pick, and we end the saga. We say, you know what, Kuminga, we're going to dish you away. We're going to let them handle the contract, figure it out on their end, and we're just going to close this chapter of the 2025 offseason, because it's just been such a gauntlet of news back and forth all over the place, and I can understand why some Warriors fans are just tired of it. But I think it's important from a GM standpoint that you don't just take a bad deal because you're exhausted from dealing with sort of the consequences of what Johnathan Kuminga's stance has been over the last couple of months. That feels a little lazy to me. And I do think there is some compromise that could be found elsewhere. And we did see another offer that came on the table, which was Phoenix Suns offered Golden State Warriors Royce O'Neal and multiple second-round picks for Johnathan Kuminga. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really like this deal that much either. I truly think Johnathan Kuminga has such a all-star level potential as he does and as the Kings do. I have that same opinion. I think he can be a very talented player. He hasn't shown that from a consistent role player standpoint. And obviously that's the issue in the first place. Johnathan Kuminga doesn't want to be a role player anymore. He wants to be the first or second best guy on a team, averaging 25, making all-star games, and I honestly think he could care less about winning at this point in his career. Every NBA player wants to win, but a lot of NBA players want to win, but every single NBA player wants to make a lot of money and wants to be a really, really good player on their team. And I feel like Johnathan Kuminga at a young age, he's already got a championship, didn't contribute too much in that season, but I just feel like he's sort of at a point now, as we've talked about in a lot of previous videos, where he doesn't really care. He's messed around in these first couple of seasons with Golden State. He's played well. He's gotten these minutes that have been so scattered. One night, Steve Kerr wants to play him and expects him to score 30, and then another night, Kuminga is expected to sit on the bench and not whine or complain at all. I understand that is the early expectation of a young role player in this league. You look at a guy like Sam Hauser. I'm sure Sam Hauser would really enjoy scoring 25 a night, but that's not his role. His role is to come in for 15 minutes a game, shoot threes, and play defense at an okay level. But it is a role players league. The NBA is a role players league. You have to have guys to come in and understand what their responsibility is on the floor. Johnathan Kuminga has not respected that side of the NBA enough to say, okay, I'm going to just hold on for a little bit longer, do the things that my team is asking me to do, and then I'll worry about the rest of this stuff down the line. Kuminga has been, I used the word drama queen a little bit in the last video, and sure, that's probably harsh for Johnathan Kuminga, but I do think that there are things that he has done in the offseason that haven't shown me enough that, hey, I get that you don't like the offers that we put on the table, but you're not showing any compromise either. Now, I do think if he ends up, this ends up getting changed to a player option, and we go to 3 years, $75.2 million with a player option or whatever that looks like, and Kuminga accepts that, I feel like we've given him exactly what he wants. So if that deal happens, and he comes in and doesn't do exactly what we've asked him to do, then I will be looking back at these deals from Malik Monk, for Royce O'Neal, and a couple of picks, and I will be thinking, man, we should have made those deals when they were on the table, because this has an opportunity, as Tim McMahon said, to be an absolute dumpster fire of a situation if Kuminga returns to the team and is an absolute locker room cancer, and then all of a sudden it blows up in our faces and we have a whole nother year. It feels like the last 3 years. Is Kuminga going to start? Is Kuminga going to come off the bench? Is he going to commit to the team? What is this all going to look like? And I'm honestly tired of it, so I can understand from a Steve Kerr perspective, from a GM perspective, from a fan perspective, saying, I'm sick of this. Let's dish him somewhere else. Sacramento, it's your problem now. Thanks for Malik Monk and a first-round pick. We'll move forward. But is that enough? I think there are better deals that we could find a little bit more compromise from, a different organization. Specifically, a deal that we broke down a little while ago about bringing Jaime Jaquez to the team. I think that's a better young player that I'm more interested in to come in and fill that 3 and 4 slot that I would rather do. But if I hear in the next week or so that we make this Malik Monk trade, we make the Royce O'Neal trade, the Malik Monk trade has already been rejected. So that would have to come back on the table, and the Kings would have to bring that conversation back up again. I don't think that I would be overjoyed knowing that those are the deals that got done. But I also would say, okay, guess what? It's behind us. We've got another solid player coming onto the team. We get a first-round pick to look to the future in 2027 when the books are clean and some of these other older guys are aging, maybe retired. But it would be a frustration looking back on the situation. The situation is going to be a frustration regardless of how it pans out. But I would love to get to the end of this scandal, really, that has been going on over the last two months. Look back and say, it was tough, but Mike Dunleavy Jr. made a career-defining early GM moment where he found a way to bring us out of the woods, pull us out of the weeds, and find a way to make a good deal. it is difficult as a GM to work with a young player who is demanding things that are so far above what they are deserving of, which is why Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry all sort of said behind closed doors, hey, these deals are tough to get done, but they will get done. They've reached out to Kuminga. They've opened their arms and said, hey, we want you back on the team. If we can make this work, we will make it work. But I don't see a world right now where Kuminga signs any other deal or gets traded anywhere else unless it is that 3 years, $75.2 million. If the Warriors change it to a player option, that's the only scenario where I go, okay, the Warriors gave a little bit of leeway to him, and I can see Johnathan Kuminga coming in and playing hard. If he signs a qualifying offer, obviously he'll play hard because he wants to set himself up to have a big UFA market next summer. But again, he knows he's not going to be on the team long term, so I don't see him committing to winning. I see him coming in and committing to try and score the basketball. He's not going to be thinking, if I rebound the ball well, then all these other scouts from other teams are going to be interested. I just feel like this player option deal, as much as it sucks for the Warriors, is going to have to happen, because giving this guy, $25 million a year, whatever it is, and allowing him to have the player option to choose what he wants to do in the third year, that to me feels significantly better than the qualifying offer. Obviously, we end up losing him for nothing at that point, but I just think I still have faith in him. I still have trust in Kuminga. I still think that he has a little bit of spirit left in him of saying, okay, I'm going to come back to the team. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to get Steph another championship. I'm going to do all these things to commit to the team. We haven't necessarily seen that yet, but I do think that and maybe it's because I believe in the hope of humanity a little bit more than other Dub Nation members might not, which I totally understand, because Kuminga has not proven himself in that way. There's so many different ways, so many different directions that this thing could go, and I'm just excited to see how it pans out. But I'm wondering from your guys' perspective, the Malik Monk deal, the Royce O'Neal deal, what is your preference? What do you want to see come October 1st when that deal has to be signed? Kuminga has to make a decision. Where do you want us to be? Do you want Kuminga on the team? Do you want him off the team? Let me know in the comments section down below. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to cover this all as it continues to unfold. It's weeks, folks. It's the next couple of weeks that we will be learning exactly where the situation goes. My name's Houston Bowe. You guys have been the fans. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one. And as always, go Dubs. Peace.